Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about interior and exterior angles of triangles. So let's start off and just talk about the definition. What is an interior angle? What is an exterior angle? Well, interior, think about inside, and exterior, think about outside. So the interior angles are those angles that are inside the polygon, and the specific polygon we're going to be talking about in this video is a triangle. So exterior angles, those are angles outside the polygon, or in this case outside the triangle, that are adjacent, which means next to, they're adjacent to the interior angles. So we have a couple diagrams here. The interior angles are shaded in white. So we have three of those, and we see that below that the sum of those measures, when we add those three angles together, it's going to equal 180 degrees. That's what's known as the triangle sum theorem. You'll talk about that theorem later on in geometry class. Then we have the exterior angles there. Notice those are denoted with the yellow shading. So when we get to some examples with exterior angles, we're just going to be looking at one exterior angle at each vertex. So I know here there's two that are shaded, but that's just kind of to highlight to you what an exterior angle is. Okay, so let's start with some interior angles. We see our sum of the measures is equal to 180 there, and we have two examples. So for number one, we see 30 degrees, 50 degrees, and x degrees. So we're going to need to figure out what that x measure is. So let's say 30 plus 50 plus x, we know that should equal 180 degrees. Well, we know 30 plus 50 is 80, so 80 plus x is equal to 180. Let's subtract 80 from both sides to get x by itself, so we know x is 100 degrees, right? So we could check that. 100 plus 30 is 130, plus 50, 180. That satisfies our equation, or our triangle sum theorem that states that those three angles inside the triangle should add up to 180 degrees. All right, number two, we have a couple differences here. Number one, we see this box here. That means that that is a right angle, which means that it is 90 degrees. Then we have x again, but now we have an expression, x plus 4. So once again, all of those are supposed to equal 180 degrees. So now we could say 90 plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 180. Well, we know that 90 plus 4 would be 94, plus 2x is equal to 180. Now let's move our 94 over here. Okay, so we're going to say 2x is equal to, and we could do 180 minus 94 to get 86. Scroll down a little bit. Let's divide that by 2, so we get x is equal to 43. Okay, so x is equal to 43. So now we know that we would have a 43 degree angle. We would have 43 plus 4, so a 47 degree angle. And then this one we said is 90. Okay, you might have been seeing something as I was working through that, and you might have thought to yourself, hey, if all three of those angles are supposed to equal 180, and I know that this angle is 90, couldn't I just say that this angle plus this angle should equal 90? We could, right? So if those two angles are equal to 90, then 90 plus 90 is 180, right? So when you have a right triangle, that is kind of a shortcut that you could do to figure out those two angle measures. You could just add those two together, forget about the right angle for now, add those two together and set them equal to 90 degrees. So if we look at that, 47 plus 43 is in fact 90, so that holds true, okay? All right, now let's talk about the exterior angle measures. So these are equal to the sum of the measures of the two non-adjacent angles. So if I'm looking at angle Z here, that's an exterior angle because it's outside the triangle. The angle that it's next to would be right there. So that's its adjacent angle, which means that these two angles of the triangle would be the non-adjacent angles. So the ones that are not next to the external angle. So that's what brings us to this equation or formula here. Z, or the external angle, the exterior angle, is equal to x plus y, or the sum of the two interior angles. Okay, so if we think about why this works, well, I know that these two angles plus this angle is equal to 180 degrees, right? Well, I also know that z plus this angle is equal to 180 degrees. So we could kind of rearrange or almost substitute those values there to say that if z plus our adjacent angle is 180, the non-adjacent angles plus the adjacent angle is 180, well, then z should be equal to x plus y, right? So that's why that formula exists and why it works. So let's look at our couple examples here. So we know that we have our exterior angle, and that should be equal to 34 plus 74, okay? Well, 30 plus 70 would be 100, and we have 8 in our ones place. so x should be 108 degrees. Number 2, a little more calculations involved. We could see that 2x should be equal to x minus 5 plus 80. So 2x is equal to x plus 75 because we would have negative 5 plus 80, which is like 80 minus 5, which is 75. Let's subtract x here, and this actually gives us x is equal to 75. So then we could figure out the measures of those angles, right? So 80, 75 minus 5, so this is a 70-degree angle. So 80 plus 70, we know that this should be 150, which also works true if we just plug in 75 for x, because 2 times 75 is 150, okay? So that's a little bit about interior and exterior angles of triangles.